Welcome all of you fellow arcanists out there to the Frith Guild podcast, where we explore an amazing world full of mystical creatures and their partners. Our hosts are Eric Smith and Scott Wareham, and they'll be your guides along this journey through Plague and Skyships. So grab your Eldrin, strap on your swords, and get ready to defend the innocent from evil. Throughout this series, if you have not caught up to the chapters being discussed today, we urge you to hit the pause button, grab your copy of this wonderful book, and catch up. We'll be here when you get back. After more than 40 chapters of pursuit, Volke, Adelgis, and Fane catch up to Theosin Venrover and verify that Theosin can in fact cure the arcane plague. Unfortunately, they also learn that Theosin is a member of the Second Ascension who intentionally created the arcane plague in the first place. Theosin doesn't consider Volke to be anyone important, but he also can't have him running off and warning people like Eventide and the Frith Guild. So he agrees to cure Volke under the condition that the trio be kept in stasis, possibly for months, while the Second Ascension completes their plans. But before Volke can refuse, Adelgis reads his mind and knocks him out, trapping Volke in a dream prison while Theosin places his body in Relic Keeper stasis. But before we return to our story, a piece of advice from the series. Step 13 on the Pillar of Ruma says tranquility. Without it, we cannot control our rage. So with that, let's get into chapters 46 through 50 of Plague Arcanist.
Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host, Scott.
And today we'll be going over chapters 46 through 50 of Plague Arcanist, which happens to be the final chapters of this book.
Dun,
oh my gosh.
Dun.
So much craziness.
I know. We're in for a doozy today.
Before we get into the episode today, though, we always like to thank everybody for listening and show us some love by liking, commenting, sharing, rating, basically on whatever platform you guys are listening to or watching us on. Do also want to remind you that the Frith Chronicles Wiki link is in the description down below, along with the Capital Station Discord server. And just in case you do not know how technology works in this day and age, I also included links to the Knightmare Arcanist and to Shammy's her website itself. So if you want to buy the books directly from her or from Amazon or download them from Kindle Unlimited, they are also down below. And I also wanted to mention that if you're listening to this recording the day that we released the episode, which is going to be August the 21st, that Time Marked Warlock was released yesterday, again, August the 20th. And I don't know what you have planned for later after you finish listening to this podcast, but that should definitely be to jump on over and start reading Time Marked Warlock, because it is an absolute great book that Shammy has released, and can't talk of it enough. So
it's awesome. Great cast of characters. So a lot to look forward to.
It's being released on audiobook. It's got a full voice actor cast. It's released on pretty much all book platforms as well. So the book cover looks amazing. She has bookmarks, if they're still available, these metal bookmarks. So if you want to head over to that link that I sent for her personal website, head on over, check to see if you can grab one of those today. And with that, we'll get into chapter 46, Enemy of the Frith Guild, and just strap on your seatbelts, because this is going to be a wild, crazy ride for the next 5 chapters. All right, we left off with the Autarch coming in, basically telling everybody what's going on. And so the Autarch is there. He's talking to Theosin. We have Callisto and Spider in there. We have all these other people. Reese is there, or Rice, however you want to say him. Freaking meatbag.
Still my favorite.
Right. Meatbag, as everybody else knows him. And the Autarch has just found out that the Frith Guild has actually gotten 6 of the 12 runestones, to include the World Serpent runestone. He is not happy at all. One of his lackeys is basically going over the list of people that the Second Ascension has killed in the process of trying to pave the way to make their society after the World Serpent is bounded to the Autarch. Now, they do list off Gregory Ruma in this list, and I'm not sure why, because it clearly was not the Second Ascension that had any involvement with it, other than I could guess see if they got him plague infected, and same with Decemius, but they didn't actually kill Ruma, so I don't know why they're claiming Ruma is one of them, but it is what it is.
It's probably just some lackey trying to get some extra credit. He's like, oh yeah, Ruma's dead too. We probably did that.
Just like, look, I promise, like, outside of all the other things that we haven't been able to do, because one person that is constantly eluding the second ascension is Guildmaster Eventide. And again, the Autarch is not happy that she is still alive. It is almost to a comical level of how often the Frith Guild has actually stopped the Autarch's plans, even with all of their ability to look out and kind of strategize everything. The Frith Guilds kind of happened to be there at the right place, the right time to foil his plans yet again. We do find out that Thiessen is set to get the Soul Forge for his service and loyalty to the Autarch. He's basically told, do not reveal yourself as been bonded with the Soul Forge until I have been bonded with the World Serpent. So obviously Thiessen is not doing this on his sole volition of just wanting to be on the winning side. He's getting something out of this, which is certainly a massive thing, because obviously the God Arcanist, becoming a God Arcanist, is going to be a huge thing, especially the one titled the Scholar. As we know, he is very scholarly, even though we don't like to accept that, but spade's a spade.
I would give him that.
Yeah, we'll give him that. Okay. Who might not like him, but we have to give credit where credit's due. We do find out with the World Serpent that basically the World Serpent is able to completely reform entire landscapes, entire countries, redivert rivers, whole 9 yards. So this is the huge stepping stone for the Autarch to get the World Serpent. And if he were to bond, he's basically going to change all of these landscapes overnight, or as close to as overnight as we could expect. And just how crazy would that be? Just out of nowhere, you wake up one morning and all of a sudden you've got a hill between you and your neighbor now.
I wouldn't be worried about a hill, like a river going through your house, like house turned into a houseboat. Poor farmers out there.
And then especially if whoever he's siding with, maybe the other side is against him and they're constantly changing their alliances and they're going back and forth.
It's a river one day, it's a hill the next day, it's back to a river.
My cabbages! So Volke is stuck being awake, but not being able to move whatsoever, and basically waiting for Thiessen to get back from the Soul Forge. Because again, Autarch takes precedence, Soul Forge takes precedence. Basically is like, don't touch them until I get back. And I don't know when that's going to be. So Lord knows how long they're going to be stuck waiting. But thankfully, Carr had the smarts to sneak off when he had the first available chance. And he actually has come in to the rescue.
That brings us to chapter 47, the final decision. So Carr does break the magical hold. He was never actually caught by the second ascension, so he's very well practiced at hiding and was able to blend in.
Yay, I like doppelgangers. I do want to say, though, if Carr was able to override Thiessen's magic, that means that doppelgangers are more powerful than relic keepers.
It's very true. The Atlas Tortoise and Atlas Tortoise Arcanists were left in charge of the defense. So Volke goes to sneak into a bunker where the rest of the crew are being held by magic. He retrieves his gear. They end up freeing everybody, but Volke is extremely angry at Adelgis for putting him to sleep and not letting him choose his own path.
This is another one of those moments of Volke going like almost scorched earth on Adelgis. Is it the plague? Is it because he's pissed? I mean, I can see both sides of that, definitely. Maybe it's the combination of them, but he damn near just about freaking destroys Adelgis.
Yeah, Adelgis got lucky.
Like he took down Felicity like he was about to just do him in.
Yes. We do find out that there is also an enemy ethereal Volke Arcanist who was protecting the thoughts, so Adelgis couldn't hear other people's thoughts. That was due to the ethereal Volke Arcanist. We don't get mention of who was stopping the plague monsters, and I'm really curious what aura that falls into, because that seems pretty powerful.
I wonder if the Master Arcanist, because we can assume that this person's an actual master, not Master Devil. I'm gonna keep finding ways to get that stuck in there, but
honorary master.
I'm gonna guess that maybe this is the ethereal Welk was able to I don't know, project some kind of telepathic field that's saying, you have to stay where you are, you can't come on land, or kind of mind control them a little bit?
It's very possible. If Adelgis is able to kind of project his voice into others, if a Master Arcanist could definitely, I would assume they can do something similar, so it could very well also be done through telepathy, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Adelgis is encouraging Volke to live, to fight another day, not chase down Thiessen. He offers up the Kepra again. Volke turns it down again. He doesn't want to butcher the remaining 6 Kepra that are out there. Adelgis does bring up Illia, and Volke is torn on this, but ends up telling Adelgis, hey, go warn the Frith Guild. They need to know Akiva's coming. They need to know that the Autarch is a Gold Kieran Arcanist, and he's going to stay and fight. And he has this determination of, I'm set in my path. I already have the plague. That's not going to change. So I'm going to do everything I can right now.
Hey, he did not read all of those books and all those stories growing up to be a little bitch now. So he dang well was going to stick back and do his thing.
Your time to shine, buddy.
He's about to have songs and stories made of him.
And thankfully, Luther does back him on this, which I'm really glad, and I expected him to, but we're about to get real Scorched Earth coming up.
So chapter 48, Atlas Tortoise. Phaeton decides he's going to help Volke as much as he can, as long as he can, to take on these other plague-ridden arcanists. Because we have a dread form Atlas Tortoise, a dread form Cerberus. We have 2 unicorn and a Pegasus arcanist. All of them at this excavation site. He doesn't want to see Volke basically do the same thing that Fane's brother did and just try to go out and save everybody. So that, I love how Fane goes from the pirate to the outcast to being very honorable and noble and all those good things, and that slow change in character that we know he probably had at heart to begin with, but poor circumstances, he had to do what he had to do. They do end up finding Moss, or the mother of shapeshifters, and they do set her free from the ropes and the nullstone chains. She has the obsidian thorns stuck in her. We're assuming that she's got the manicore venom getting pushed into her as well. And as she's starting to reform, the description of what Moss looks like is the inside of a whale with all of the bones removed.
Disgusting. It's just disgusting.
I know every time they touch the sheet, it caused blood to appear on the sheet. And with Moss being the way she is, just
yeah, it's gross.
Yeah. So of course they are not able to just do this quietly. Something makes they make a bunch of noise. The unicorn arcanist ends up coming in, and in order to protect themselves, they end up knocking the unicorn arcanist into a bookshelf that slowly starts to cause all of the other bookshelves in the whole storehouse to topple over. And so much for stealth.
This is really just the apothecary all over again. Volke's reliving his worst nightmare here. He's like, Zelfrey's about to come out and yell at me.
I'm surprised he didn't offer to pay for it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll pay for it. I'm sorry. I almost bet he would have. So somehow Moss can tell that Volke is a friend with her children, and her children being the doppelgangers and mimics. Obviously, we know we have Zelfrey, we have Karna, we have Traces and Kar, respectfully. She says she can smell her children on them, so I imagine there's definitely a good get out of jail card here in the back pocket for Volke now, because she owes him one. And she ends up escaping.
And her escape method is exploding into birds and flying away, which is also a horror show all on its own.
I feel like Moss would be Edgar Allan Poe's version of a mystical creature.
Did he submit that? Was that him?
Shammy, is this anything related to Edgar Allan Poe? So Volk shadow steps up to the top with Fane. He gets kind of wrecked by that. And naturally, of course, the Pegasus is on top of him in the air, just pushing wind down at him. The Cerberus Arcanist starts spewing fire into the warehouse. Fane and Wraith are getting start making attacks to the Cerberus Eldrin itself, but then the Arcanist hits them with a pretty good blast of fire. So he uses flamethrower on them and scorches them pretty good. Volk finally is like, okay, Fane and Wraith, you guys got to get out of here because you guys are ice. He's got fire. You don't have the elemental, the status.
It's super effective.
It's super effective. Like, it ain't gonna work out good for you guys. So Volk still got his Phoenix Feather that helps him with his shadow of manipulation. So he's got that so far. He does tell Fane to get away and to help Moonbeam get basically everybody back to the Frith Guild, tell him all the plans for the Autarch, so that way they can at least prepare for the second ascension, make sure that they absolutely get to the World Serpent first, and to warn Eventide that Kiva is, or you said, how did you say his name?
I think I said Akiva, but I don't know if that's right. I don't know where I got that from because I've never heard it pronounced. This is another Jose one. We need some professional input on how to read.
We will need to know how to properly announce his name because this is going to be quite a while. We're going to be seeing him. So if anybody wants to give us a shout out to how his name is properly announced or how it's said in the audiobook, please let us know. So Volk is now making his last stand against all of these other arcanists. He basically says, screw it. He uses his aura and basically forces it out. So he's doing his eclipse aura. Not very effectively, but it's still empowering him. He's starting to wreck the excavation site. He's pulling apart the bonfires that are magically being spurred on so that he can at least do as much damage as humanly possible before he gets taken out. He's fighting all of these other arcanists and their Eldrin right now. And he ends up getting trapped by the Atlas Tortoise because it is able to manipulate the ground and basically sinks him into the ground, just like when the Gargoyle did with Callisto in Dread Pirate Arcanist. And he's not able to shadow step out of this. He's able to get enough of a distraction that he can get himself loose, but it just brings everybody back to lure him out. Nothing is looking very good. This is a very tough part of the chapter. Things are not looking up for Volk. Luther says, my Arcanist, we must act. Escape or flight, any decision is better than indecision. And Volk decides that this is where he's going to make his stand. Now, I know, Scott, you had been reading these books basically as they were being released, correct?
Correct.
So not knowing that there is a fifth book on its way, that as soon as you get done with this chapter, that there's another chapter and you're going to keep going on to another book. What was your mindset going through at this point in the book?
I actually felt better at this one than at the end of Colosseum Arcanist, because here I was like, I think Volk's got some tricks in his bag. He's going to pull something out. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I had faith. I think at Colosseum Arcanist, I just struggled because it was the plague. There's been no hope against the plague yet. And it was this thought of like, oh, Luther could easily kind of end this. But with Volk teaming up with Luther, yes, the odds are stacked against them, but I actually had some faith in Volk on this one. It was like, he's gonna pull some shit out. I don't know what that shit's gonna be, but he's gonna pull some shit out. So I was excited. I was very excited at this point for it.
Yeah, because I know when I was reading through this, I'm just like, oh my, I'm spiraling. Like, it's not gonna work out. I kept reminding myself, even like there's there's 4 other books after this. Like it's got to work out somehow, but dang it, I don't know how.
Yeah, it's rough odds for him. I will say that. That does bring us into chapter 49, Following Stars, and we get Volk's saving grace, which is true form. So we get Luther evolves into his true form. His armor is upgraded. He gets wings. He's able to fly. His cape now has stars on it. Power level is easily over 9,000.
Instantly just starts evoking or projecting a perfect aura with no problem, is able to have that eclipse aura to help empower him.
No more second bonding pain. He is upgraded massively. The enemy still approaches, so Volk does attempt to use terrors, his go-to, but the barriers from the Atlas Tortoise do stop this. Fortunately, Retribution is able to cut right through the barrier.
Why didn't he use... So it does describe that Volk was using the shadows, like he was throwing Retribution and then using the shadows to swing his sword through the barriers at all these other arcanists and Eldrin. Where was this at?
I know. I don't know if he didn't have enough mastery over the shadows or he just didn't think of it. But yes, this is new move learned.
like you said, he's pulling some shit out.
He is. And with this method, he is able to cut the Cerberus Arcanist. He does get cut through the armor. Luther does get blood on him. The one thing we do know, though, is that because he's true form, he is immune to the plague. This is something that we did see with Eventide. Volk finally does kill the man, and the aura fades away.
And Thesan even said, true form arcanists are not affected by the plague, so we can at least be fairly confident that that is true. Obviously, we've seen it with other arcanists before, that true forms do not get affected by it. But again, Thesan said it's true, so it is true, okay?
He's a scholar.
He's a scholar. Maybe not a gentleman, but a scholar. So chapter 50, A Dying Wish. I read this chapter title. Like, I almost didn't read the chapter title, but then, obviously A Dying Wish, you're like, so much emotional roller coaster through these. Again, last 5 chapters of her books, just straight emotional roller coaster. You just expect it. It is what it is. He just got cured of the plague. Got a true form Eldrin, like, amazing. And again, dude's like 18, maybe 18 at this point, depending on how much time actually elapsed during his travels from New Nora to the excavation site and all this other stuff going on. So 18 years old, has a true form. Other than Rashawn. Rashawn's an asshole. We don't like him. We don't want to give the company to Rashawn.
He cheated, though. He didn't earn his. He just was born an asshole, so he got his.
He just happened to have been able to bond with the correct thing that he happened to be.
Yes.
So we digress. So with A Dying Wish, Volk is just going straight beast mode now. He's got a broken leg. He got shot in the back with a bullet from the Unicorn Arcanist. Just, he's not fully physically recovered. Obviously, he got all of that strength for the magic from becoming a true form and being relieved of the plague, but obviously not everything was healed. He decides that he's going to do his best to try and find everyone else to make sure that they're okay, because Fluffy was told to take off after the rest of the everybody else, Karna, Adelgis, Fane.
It took me a second, but I got there.
Oh, it literally just clicked with me as soon as I said it. I'm like, oh, yay. So Volk is now determined to at least make sure that they are okay. Even though he's able to see through the dark, he does get turned around. He ends up getting lost. Doesn't go back through the way he's supposed to. He is starting to realize that he, again, doesn't feel right, and he starts to feel like he's dying. And it reminds me back of Dread Pirate Arcanist, where he says misfortune is his only sibling. And again, we're slowly seeing him degrade. And on the plus side, look at the boxes we're supposed to be checking off here. Cure the Arcane Plague, check. Finding out more information about the Second Ascension, check. Taking out the Autarch, we'll leave that one off. Can't check that one off yet, but he did destroy the excavation site, and he got rid of everything else. So he decides that he's basically at a point where he can die peacefully. Even like talking, like, dang it. Even reading this a second time, it did not keep me from tearing up. I was actually sitting at work, and I'm just like, oh gosh, why did I do this to myself? So, invokes illusion, or basically a mirage comes to him of Illia, and that she is there. He imagines that she's there, and he says that he touches her and she feels real and everything, but he's like, there's no way. He does give Death the accolade for making it such a spectacular delusion. He finally tells Illia that he loves her and that he should have done things differently from the beginning. And she does tell him that she loves him back. Again, Volke is just making peace with himself, that he's dying and that this is the end. Illia kind of vanishes, comes back with Zaxxas, and Zaxxas comes over and starts to heal Volke. And I imagine that Volke is still like, this is some kind of delusion. Like,
this is the weirdest dream.
Right. Like, oh my gosh, like this would be perfect if it was actually happening, but it's probably not. So Volke finally realizes that he's not having an delusion. This is real. He finally gets healed enough where he's able to stand up. And Zaxxas, of all people, are crying over Volke.
Never thought I'd see the day.
No. Back to the second chapter of Knightmare Arcanist, where they pretty much loathe each other from the beginning. Zaxxas is crying over Volke, and he will never admit it, but dang it, it is written and it is in history.
We saw the tears.
So there's no writing this off. So Volke gets teleported back to where everybody else is from the Frith Guild. He gets dogpiled by Raisin, who has 4 heads now. 4, not 2, like he left off with. And Raisin's like 250 pounds now, so he's massive. We have Titania, we have Traces, we have the Kepra, we have Tyne, the Blue Phoenix, and of course, to top off the dogpile, Mesos, Captain Devlin's Rock, because she loves herself a good dogpile.
She does. She says, you're my nest now.
Addie sees him after he gets out of the dogpile and runs up. In my headcanon, she runs up to Volke and gives him a hug. I mean, I imagine she like stopped for like half a second to be like, oh, I'm sorry, like showed too much emotion, get it under check. Okay, like I missed you, Volke. Hug. And she gives him some medicine to help with whatever he was shot with. Things are pretty much like on the up and up now. But I want it to be clear that Addie was the first person to basically run up and hug Volke. So obviously there's some kind of feels there.
He is a ladies' man.
He is. So as soon as he breaks it apart from Addie, Hexa dang near like knocks him over, tackles him, because she's so excited to see him. And then Eviana comes over and essentially is gonna like tries to tackle him, I imagine. But she's like as much as a leaf, so she doesn't really have the same effect that Hexa did, but we know your heart's in the right place.
You tried.
Right. As Volke is walking back towards the ship, and again, Sun Chaser is there, so the airship, Eviana will not let Volke go. And I like this, just because it's like, no, you ain't leaving. You got to train me now, okay? Like, we're nightmares. Oh, all right. We gotta do the night. Yeah, we gotta train me properly.
Especially now that you got your evolved one. I want one of those.
How do I get an evolved Knightmare? I almost said evolved Pokemon.
First, you get it to level 36.
And then just stuff a bunch of rare candies down its throat until it. So Captain Devlin and Zelfrey are hanging out in front of the airship. And Volk's like, I gotta tell you everything right now. And all the plans that's going on with the Second Ascension. And Zelfrey's kind of like, okay, let's get up on the ship here. Come on. We can discuss this on the ship. Come on. Okay, like the longer you're doing this, the longer it's taking. Get on the ship, we can start moving, okay? Come on. And one of the last lines in this book is Zelfrey saying, and we're also going to have a talk about how none of my apprentices listen to a damn word I have to say. You're supposed to be the good one.
We've been preaching this for so long. Nobody listens to Zelfrey.
Oh my lord. Again, it's like, if you would just listen to Zelfrey for 5 seconds. I mean, they did it once.
And it worked.
It did work. They ended up being able to compete in the tournament like they wanted to. But he had to have a tournament to encourage them to listen. And with that ends book 4, Plague Arcanist. And, oh man, like I said, such feels. I know Shammy has constantly said that she cried writing the book. And she was the one that thought of all of it up. So, you know,
it's a lot of emotion.
I love this book. I love the very end of the book. Just chef's kiss. All right. And with that, we are going to jump into our bestiary section. The Atlas Tortoise, and I can only think of the Atlas Tortoise as nothing other than just a giant tortera. If you've watched the new Detective Pikachu movie with Ryan Reynolds,
so
like that is what I see as the Atlas Tortoise. As far as the mythology goes, we kind of assume it's based off the world turtle, tortoise mythologies. It's called the world turtle, also called the cosmic turtle or the world bearing turtle. We see this in the Hindu mythologies, the Chinese mythologies, and some mythologies from the indigenous peoples of America. As far as anything else goes, there's quite a lot that we don't know for sure. We can make a lot of astute guesses, mainly because the Atlas Tortoise and the Atlas Turtle are fairly similar in its abilities. One can swim, one walks on land. That's really the big differences between the two. So for Trial of Worth, we're guessing, but pretty sure that it has something to do with protecting something precious. Gonna say that it's a tier 3. I don't think there's gonna be any argument that it's for it being anything other than a tier 3. We do know that it had, again, we're gonna guess that it's a progeny reproduction. It is able to evoke barriers and manipulate grounds and plants. So the Atlas Tortoise is able to manipulate the ground just as if a gargoyle can manipulate rocks or stone golems, that kind of thing. Not too sure about the augmentation or passive abilities. Its aura, true form, true appearance. Again, a lot of question marks with it. Hopefully, once the bestiary is released and is able to be discussed, we will be able to have more information on the Atlas Tortoise. But again, a lot of the information we're going to guess is basically the same as the Atlas Turtle. The other thing I want to mention about the Atlas Tortoise that we saw in these last chapters, it was a dread form, and it was stated that there was actually a tombstone on the tortoise's shell. Once it was killed, that tombstone fell off. Volke also did find a Kirin chilling in the back of this tortoise. So I assume that the arcanist that was, I think it's Tamoy was the name of the arcanist. So we assume he was a Kirin arcanist along with the Atlas Tortoise, but Volke's just like, meh. It's not going to bond with anybody else, so I'll just leave it there.
And now that we have our true form Knightmare, we're going to dive pretty deep into them. So mythology nightmares are based on tales of ghost soldiers from Okinawa. So there's a lot of different myths that are centered around soldiers who die in the battlefield. Okinawa is probably one of the more famous and one of the more documented ones. These myths are anything from specter samurai, people saying that ghosts need to, fulfill some sort of goal before they can depart, in areas that are so haunted that suicides are documented there, military housing gets condemned, and these stories really influence the creation of the Knightmare, who's born from the death of a ruler. It also comes from the idea of nightmares being able to merge, which is similar to ghosts being able to possess people and carry out actions through them. The trial of worth is demonstrating virtue and conviction. This is usually in the form of saving someone's life at the potential cost of losing your own. So we saw Volke at the very, very beginning saving someone's life from...
Shoot.
We see this at the beginning with Volke saving Lyle from Plague Stag. And then we also see this with Eviana, who steps in the way to try and save Volke's life because she's tired of seeing the people around her die. Nightmares are tier 3, and their reproduction is fable, again, being born when the sole ruler of the land is assassinated or killed by betrayal. The blood mixes with the shadow, and the new nightmare forms out of this, and we saw this actually happen with Glacial.
So excited for that happened.
I know. They are able to evoke terrors, so one of Volke's go-to is being able to evoke hallucinations that are sent to the mind of the target. They manipulate shadows, can move, harden them into objects. These are, however, easily destroyed by light. Augmentation, they are also able to augment shadows, so they can grant people to see through shadows. And when they augment themselves, they can gain the ability to shadow step through darkness, moving as though they were a shadow. Passive abilities, they are able to merge with the arcanist, becoming a single being that live and die together. They can see through darkness, they're immune to most forms of fear and other terrors, and they have increased strength when they're in the darkness. Their aura is the eclipse aura, which creates a shadow that blots out the sun or the moon, blanking everything in artificial darkness. And their true form is virtue, so the arcanist embodies the ideals of a fallen knight, willing to stand in the face of something dark, no matter the personal cost, really sacrificing everything and being willing to sacrifice everything for their cause. Once they gain their true form, they do get a cape or scarf form into wings, and the armor becomes enhanced to become more deadly, so the gauntlets turn into claws. They become much more dexterous, and they're able to shift around their body a lot more. Their true form ability, which we haven't seen come into play, is no falsehood. So when they get their true form, the arcanists are able to detect when people are lying to them.
I would love that. I would love that ability. Just you're lying. Stop it.
Just a little tingle. Little tingles. Yeah, that's not right.
Sure. All right. And with that, that concludes Plague Arcanist. And next week we will be going over, or we'll have the interview with Chad and Shammy for the tabletop game, along with the following week we'll be starting World Serpent Arcanist. Oh my gosh, we are officially halfway through the Frith Chronicles series itself.
The books get a lot longer, so we actually have a lot more content to cover.
Yep.
We're probably like a third of the way through, but
it's like the Harry Potter books, okay? The first few are the smaller ones. They hit 4, it's like, okay, it's going to take a little bit longer each time. Again, once we have the bestiary available, we'll get that out there. And I think that's it for this week. We'll definitely look forward to seeing everybody next week with the tabletop game, and then the following for Book 5.
Eric, Scott, and I want to thank everyone for listening today. We post a new episode every Wednesday morning at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 8 Pacific Standard Time. We are on all podcasting platforms and are also on YouTube as well for video. After the additional episode airs, we post chapter-by-chapter videos every day in a smaller, easier-to-digest format. We do want to give a special shout-out to the final member of our team, Dan Mackison, one of the admins for the Frith Chronicles Wiki, link listed below, and doing his best to keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. If you want to reach out to us, you could email us at frithguildpod@gmail.com or on Facebook or any other social media by searching for Frith Guild Podcast. Just to remind everybody, we have links to everything in the description below on both the podcast and YouTube. Scott, do you have anything else you want to add this week?
We see Volke with his true form, and I'm excited to actually see it in play.
This is another one of those like little things of just, oh, why do you have to tease us like that? He has nothing else.
Stay tuned. Everyone loves a cliffhanger, right?
Right, exactly. All right, thanks everybody.